two, 1, 2, 3.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all, 'cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
Okay, hello, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television, a podcast about awful books. Hey, guess what? It's our 10th episode. Woohoo! And in honor of this, we're going to be talking about a book that has been much requested, probably because I mentioned it a long time ago, and then the episode never came out. But I'm here to discuss a book by Nels Cline entitled, I just said Nels Cline.
You just did. I think it's actually Ernest Cline.
A book by Ernest Cline, not Nels Cline, called Ready, Player, 1. With me today is Mike Sacco, a game designer and internet goof-off.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
No problem. Thanks for being here. I figure there is nobody more qualified to talk about this book than somebody that spends their, 40 hours a day waiting in the world of video games. So, 40
I don't know
hours
if
a
I
week,
should be
I guess.
happy or offended by that, but...
I used to do it too, man. It's okay. So basically... Let's talk about what this book is.
A piece of crap.
Yeah, I mean, other than that. This is a strange book to me because this is a book that was recommended a lot to me by people who I respect their opinions. And they kept coming to me and telling me, you should read this. It's really cool. You'd really relate to it. And it was actually even given to me as a gift. And I hate all those people now.
Yeah, I was shocked because this book was recommended to me by 5-6 different people, and all of them whose taste I would normally trust, but now I don't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about this book, and I guess before I'll just say this real quick, and then we'll kind of describe what it is that this is something that appeals to a certain type of person who is really, really into the internet and video games and is maybe late 20s and early 30s, but is also really susceptible to having their nostalgia switch triggered.
Yeah.
And is willing to overlook a lot of bullshit as long as that happens. I would say that these are the type of people who listen to bands that do heavy metal versions of video game music.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So... basically, what this book is it's a loosely constructed mystery story about a famous game designer who dies, and then after he dies, he reveals a posthumous message. I forget how he gets it across to people, but that his game contains crazy Easter eggs, and they're hidden all over the world, and if you find them, you will win unimaginable riches. So basically, we have the tale of a teenage hacker... in a dystopian future.
Oh no!
and his ragtag group trying to solve these puzzles and escape their lives of poverty and misery. But what we really have is a checklist of things from the 80s with the question, remember this?
Yeah.
After that.
I described this book as, that lab experiment they did with the rats where one button like stimulated the rat's pleasure center in the brain, and then the other button gave them food.
Yeah.
Okay, this book is basically the equivalent of what happened to the rats, which was tapping the pleasure button over and over and over and over rather than getting food. So
yeah. I'm not one to say that reading shouldn't be fun, because it definitely should.
Sure.
And, I'm definitely not, everything needs to be challenging or something. But, yeah, literally, I mean, there's not a page of this book that doesn't have a, some sort of sly wink and nod reference to, like, a cartoon show or a video game or a movie or something. That was a huge part of nerd culture in the 80s.
There is nothing sly about the way that references work in this.
I guess you're right. Yeah, there isn't. It's not wink and nod. It's like hit you over the head with a club. Anyway, so Mike, you want to get into a little bit of world building here?
Sure. So in this dystopian universe, in the fairly near future, from what I can tell,
20XX.
Yeah, the world has become overpopulated. A common theme in this type of fiction, and there's poverty, resource resource scarcity, wars, etc. And most of the world is living in poverty, and they do so in kind of stacked RVs, I guess you could say. Like, everybody is living in these stacked houses in dumps, essentially.
If you've ever actually read the short story that the movie Johnny Mnemonic was based on, the William Gibson short story, which is completely different, this is ripped off completely from that.
Shocking. Reference?
They have a whole city called Heaven that's built out of old RV shells and stuff. It is under a bridge. And that's like where all the pirates live and stuff. But this is completely lifted whole cloth from that.
So basically, because nobody can really get anywhere or do anything, they spend all of their time in this sort of virtual world MMO called Oasis.
Which is basically Second Life.
Yeah. And not the greatest British band since the Beatles. But like you spend all of your time in that. Children go to school in Oasis. They use their recreational time in there. Somehow resource and fuel scarcity hasn't prevented basically everybody in the world from being jacked into the web. Not sure how that works. But yeah, so the creator of Oasis died, and nobody inherited his billions upon billions of dollars. And he left behind a series of secret Easter eggs that if you found all of them and found, the golden key or whatever, then you would receive some sort of huge treasure that everybody assumes is this guy's billions. Enter our alliteratively named main character.
Oh God, I love his name.
What is it? Wade Williams?
Wade Williams, that's correct.
Wade Watts.
Wade Watts.
Wade
Yes,
Watts.
Wade Watts.
Wade Watts is a, chubby, male, white nerd.
Uh-huh.
Which, shocking for
yes.
this type of genre.
I'm not sure if that's a character I could really throw myself into easily. Being from the demographic I am, me, a computer-using video game playing guy in his early 30s, how would I possibly relate to this misunderstood chubby nerd?
Now, one additional world building note is that all names within Oasis are unique. So if you wanted to be named, say Mark, then you would need to see if anybody else had used the name Mark before, and I'm sure that someone has. So our main character, Wade, wanted to be named Percival, like the knight. But all of the variations on Percival were taken, including adding numbers, changing letters to things. So his name is Parzival.
Yeah, that's like what I tried to sign up to Twitter last week as Get Turned Up. But, he becomes Parzival. I remember that. Later on, they introduce a love interest who's Artemis with a 3 instead of an E. The 7 school of naming things. No head in a box, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, Artemis is his, curvy goonette crush. Inside jokes. With a, shapely, high fantasy avatar to go with Wade's, obviously, muscular, fantasy male, power, wish fulfillment thing, which is a theme throughout the entire book.
Oh, yeah.
Pretending to be someone that you're not. Wade Wade accidentally stumbles on the first key in the series of keys that will find the creator's greatest treasure. And somehow all of the keys are based on 80s pop culture references.
Wow.
Every single one of them. And I guess kids... not all kids are filled with 80s nostalgia like Wade is. But Wade just happens to be the man with enough 80s pop culture knowledge to save the day here.
Yes. Also the reader.
And the reader, yes. The book is essentially a trip through a world of references. And I don't mean that figuratively, I mean it literally, where every new challenge that Wade comes upon just happens to be, based on the Atari game Adventure, or there's a clue hidden in the Dead Man's Party video.
Yeah. It gets awful. It gets really, really unbearable. There's a lot of points in this book where I just found myself feeling like I was reading a list of, here's what I like, here's another thing I like, here's what I like. I know you like this too, guys, right? Hey, here's what I like. And it just goes on and on. It's loosely woven together by this narrative that you spoke of, which is the Goonies in cyberspace.
Yeah.
And it has all of the horrible cliches that you'd expect from a book about the future of computers written by someone maybe in their 50s or 60s, except he's not.
Yeah.
Like, Parzival and Artemis and shit like that feel to me like such a old guy, what would people's handles be on the BBS? You know, it's really strange. It's strangely reference filled and out of touch at the same time.
Yeah. Ernest Cline comes from this kind of by nerds for nerds school, Cory Doctorow, John Scalzi. Cory Doctorow, I'm sure, loved this book.
Oh, yeah, because he's mentioned by name as the president, right?
Oh, right! I had forgotten!
There's one little section here. Actually, I have it highlighted. Let me see. Let's see if I can find this here. Here we go. Like most Gunters, I voted to re-elect Cory Doctorow and Will Wheaton again. There were no term limits, and those two geezers have been doing a kick-ass job of protecting user rights for over a decade. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
That's in the book. So yeah, I'm sure Cory Doctorow fucking loves this book. It's basically a hand job. So.
But yeah, having Artemis with a number in it and everything just reminds me of Cory Doctorow's equally terrible book, Little Brother.
Oh, is that the one about World of Warcraft gold farming?
No, that one's called For the Win.
Yeah, and yes, by the way, that's a novel about World of Warcraft gold farming. Anyway, sorry.
Little Brother is a book that is basically a YA version of 1984.
Oh, boy.
With a character whose username, a child whose username in the book is W1N5T0N, Winston. So it reminded me pretty heavily of that, and I guess when you're writing a book where people are in cyberspace hacking things, the only way that you can get people to realize that they're in a virtual world is to put numbers in their name.
Yeah, there's no other way to characterize that through, storytelling techniques or anything like that. That would be impossible.
When was the last time that somebody used leet speak in earnest? Really? Without several layers of irony, when was the last time that happened? It's so funny because it very solidly dates these people.
Yeah, I'm looking at a book here that I have in front of me that I may be talking about at some point as well, except it was pretty tongue-in-cheek. It's called The Cyberpunk Handbook. It was written by Are You Serious? He's the guy who used to do Mondo 2000, and he's kind of known as a hacker sort of writer, comic, humorist, whatever, back in the day. This book is filled with making fun of leet speak, and it was written in 1995. So, yeah.
I mean, maybe because of the increasingly recursive way that Nostalgia Works.
Oh.
Like maybe lead speak is in vogue
No,
again.
I've got it, dude. It's future primitive. It's like, the story like Planet of the Apes where you find out later that it's actually a society that's, spoiler, a society that's reverted back to its primitive state.
Oh, come on, man. I haven't seen that yet.
That's what we're talking about. It's a future primitive internet, It's the neuromancer world. Anyway, though, I think it's probably a good time to take a break. We're going to come back some more and probably just be really mean about this book some more because I'm having a great time. So we will see you again in a few seconds. Thanks.
In your favorite sundress, watching me get undressed. Take your body downtown, honey. I say you the bestest, leaning for a big kiss. Put your favorite perfume on. Go play your video game.
All right, and welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Podcast.
You don't own a what?
Welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Television. Television. It's the 10th anniversary episode, so I figured I have to do that because I do it all the time now, and it's never intentional.
Yeah, it's become kind of part of the routine now,
Yeah, definitely. With me today is Mike Sacco.
I am here.
Yes, and we are discussing a book called Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, not guitar wizard Nels Cline. I like this book a lot in the same way that I like movies like Manos, Hands of Fate and Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
I found it enjoyable to read, but I scoffed at it the entire time.
Yes.
What's really interesting, though, is I believe, and I wish I would have looked this up before I even mentioned this, but I'm pretty sure that the New York Times Review of Books gave this a thumbs up.
Yes, actually, it is very difficult to find well-known publications that didn't rate this book well, and it shocks me.
It does, because this is not. I should say right now too, this is not marketed as a young adult novel. No, this is marketed towards grown-ups, and if it was a young adult novel, it would just confuse the fuck out of teenagers because they don't know or care about the Atari game Adventure.
Right. I've never even seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
What is that?
Dad.
What kind of snake is that? Oh, yeah, speaking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, though, what are the puzzles that they need to solve to move forward? It involves recreating an entire scene from the movie.
Oh, no, they have to reenact the whole movie.
Oh, yeah, because...
And we have to sit through it.
Yeah, because... This book is nerd fantasy. It's a huge nerd hand job. Everything you wished for as a 13-year-old that would get you girls or get you popular or whatever, it happens in this book. Except I think it was written by a man in his 30s. So. Did you
have that group of friends in school that you would watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail with?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Jeff, actually, in the BBS days of the internet, found a text file that was a script of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I can't believe I'm admitting this. And we printed it out on my printer. It was about 100 and some odd pages long, and then had our parts highlighted in different colors.
Oh, man. Yeah, we had...
I'm the worst.
We had rules when we watched it that if you said something before the character on the screen said it, then you got to be punched in the shoulder.
That's good.
And it was a pretty good deterrent, but it didn't work 100% of the time. And to me, this type of thing is exactly like saying the line before the character says it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful. We haven't even really kind of described how they start to find these clues. I don't know if you want to kind of get into more of the adventure part of things a little bit so that people kind of understand where we're coming from with this.
Okay, so Wade, like I said, is the only person in the world who remembers the 80s, despite having not lived in them. And he is in the Oasis one day, and he's what they call a gunter.
When he was in the Oasis, do you think it was Midnight at the Oasis? I'm sorry. Continue, gunter.
A gunter, which I think is just a terrible word, but it is a portmanteau of egg and hunter. Gunter. Kind of like kind of like blog.
Yeah.
Just a terrible word.
Also, my favorite San Francisco Giant, Gunter Pence. This will be the second episode in a row where I've annoyed the fuck out of people by talking about baseball. Okay, anyway, continue.
So he finds the first key, the copper key, inside of a location called the Tomb of Horrors. Ooh. And in there he sees...
Continue, I'm just providing some ambience here.
He sees his, curvy goonette crush, Artemis. And they have to unlock the first gate, because obviously there's a series of gates and a series of keys, because this is a video game fetch quest, and that's the way that these things work.
Yep.
They have to reenact the entire War Games movie.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about that part,
You forgot
too.
about War Games, yeah. You forgot about Ali Sheedy.
No, not the movie. I'll never forget the movie. I forgot about the part in this. But no, Ernest Klein, I would not like to play a game. Okay, sorry.
So over the course of the book and, unlocking new gates and finding new keys, they are pursued by employees of the world's biggest internet service provider that for some reason are called Sixers. Was there ever any reason given why they're called Sixers? Because if there was, I can't
I'm sure it was explained at some point, but I'm going to be honest in that I read this book about a year ago when it was given to me, and since then I've just skimmed through it to find funny sections, because I didn't want to fucking read the whole thing again. But my guess is it has something to do with 86ing people, or, or maybe they're just big Allen Iverson fans. God damn, two sports. Whoa! All right, sorry.
You don't even own a sports podcast.
I might soon, though, if this one keeps going the way it does.
But Wade himself, while evading the Sixers, which somehow can't find him appropriately, makes friends with a posse of other weirdos, like two Japanese samurai named Shoto and Daito, and of course they're twins, by the way.
Yep.
Samurai twins.
Just like in G.I. Joe.
Just like in G.I. Joe. And there's this whole like really, really racist like samurai all about honor type thing that it goes throughout every single interaction that these characters have.
If you take the weird like William Gibson, Bruce Sterling obsession with Japanese culture, and then mix it with like some good old fashioned like 1990s cultural insensitivity, you basically got this. It's they're real bad, and frequently they're if I remember correctly, their language is written dialectically.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, that's so awful.
Yeah. I mean, there's a point in the book where Wade hands them an Ultraman statue that he won by unlocking one of the previous gates, and says Urotaro Man is a hero of the Japanese people. He belongs to Japan. And Shoto or Daito or whichever Japanese samurai twin says, thank you, Parsifal-san. You are man of honor.
Oh, God.
It is so painful. And
I'm just glad none of his friends were Native American. There'd be a whole lot of like me hack 'em internet type shit going on.
And the whole like casual racism thing like isn't even like the weirdest thing in the book. It's how Wade relates to women.
Yeah.
In the book, that's particularly bad and weird.
It gets friend-zoney.
Yes.
A little fedora-y, I would say. I wouldn't go so far as to get into MRA, because that's now become something that's like basically a hate group. But I would say that I guarantee you that Mr. Klein owns several fedora.
Like this is one of those things where you read things that the main character says and you think, oh well, this this must have been published in 1992 or something. But talking to girls was out of the question. To me, they were like some exotic alien species, both beautiful and terrifying. Whenever I got near one, I invariably broke out in a cold sweat and lost the ability to speak in complete sentences. So yes, women are aliens.
Yeah.
And I hope you weren't a woman who wanted to read this book, because I'm going to tell you that your role in the book as
from here on out, you are a cipher.
You are a cipher, and your job is to be slightly worse at everything than the male main character,
and to be lusted after.
Yeah. You have the curvy female avatar. And you are the perfect girlfriend in that you will play Mario Kart with your boyfriend, but you'll never win Mario Kart against your boyfriend.
Yeah. A grown man wrote this. A grown man wrote this book.
And listen, there are ways to write about a teen discovering his feelings for opposite or same gender, whatever, without being weird about it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to say, I thought that girls were aliens. You could say, talking to girls was really difficult for me,
Yeah,
I
understand. It's weird. Yeah, you don't have to dehumanize them in the process.
Right. I understand. Maybe this is like through the lens of fantasy and sci-fi, where this is the absolute best analogy you can make, that women are literally from another planet. But if this was just an isolated incident,
yeah, but it's not. I actually wanted to ask you a question about this. How cynical do you think most of this was? Like, do you think that there was intentional pandering, or do you think that this is actually something that was flowing out of his pen like a masterpiece? Because there are times at this where the nostalgia almost feels so manufactured that you feel very, very catered to.
Yeah. Well, this is a very, very clear work of pandering, and there isn't always something wrong with writing a pandering work.
Yeah.
You can do it without being completely cynical, but this to me reads as if Ernest Cline was writing a book to himself in the 90s. This is a book to Ernest from Ernest.
Or somebody's shitty community college composition that they've been working on for 2 semesters and are about to turn in, or here, read this, let me know what you think. And then you can't really be honest with them, because it's this is horrible. This is about Space Invaders.
This is about Space Invaders, man. You have an entire level based on Zork. Come on, dude.
I know. It's painful, and this should be right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mentioned this before. I'm 35 years old, so I mean, I am an 80s baby in every sense of the word, I guess. That was when I was very much kind of coming into my own, and I was really into computers. I was really into Zork. I love those Infocom games, and I was a nerdy kid. I'm still a nerdy dude. This book should scratch all of my itches, but unfortunately, I'm not easily manipulated.
No,
and that's all this book is. It's fucking press a button, get a fish biscuit.
Yeah. Dopamine trigger, man. It's messed up. And the worst part of it is that reading this book made me think, oh my God, if this was 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have loved this book.
Yeah.
This would have been everything I wanted in a book. A book that said, in order to succeed, in order to get the girl, in order to win billions, all that you have to do is remember the 80s.
Yeah. Hey, you know that thing? Here's some money.
No, but that's...
Holy shit, a rip stinger frisbee? Let's fuck.
The thing...
I'm just proud of myself for remembering a rip stinger.
The thing that drives me crazy about the core concept of this book, though, is that nobody else in the world could reenact the movie War Games that nobody else in the world had ever played Zork before.
Well, I mean, isn't it mentioned at the beginning though that he's like kind of one of the only people left because all this material has been kind of destroyed in the public record, you know, like through the dystopian. Oh no, wait, none of that happens. That would have made sense.
Yeah, in fact, he actually says that you can find almost any work of art or fiction or media ever online. That there's just like millions and millions of, you know, channels of, you know, people streaming their favorite TV shows from the 80s, you know, like...
Yeah. You know what else is on there? Some really fucked up shit, man.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. You got to be careful on the internet because there are, quote unquote, non-stop foot fetish videos broadcast out of Eastern Europe. Amateur porn featuring deviant soccer moms in Minnesota.
Oh my God.
You name it. Every flavor of weirdness the human psyche could cook up was being filmed and broadcast online.
Wow. All two flavors.
Incredibly tame flavors. I could think of at least 16 other flavors. Maybe even like 49 flavors. Is that the Baskin Robbins? Or do they have 42?
They're 31.
Shit,
31.
42. There has to be a 42 thing in this book
I'm
too,
sure,
right? Yeah.
I'm sure there is. In fact, I'm sure that there's several of them.
Yeah.
Because the way that references work in this is you read, there was a dance going on in a high school cafeteria where there was a bunch of ghosts and Rodney Dangerfield. And by the way, it was the video for Dead Man's Party. Like, that's the way that every single reference works. Where you don't even get to spend the brain power trying to figure out, do I remember the 80s? No, like, he says, don't worry, I have done the legwork on this one. I have remembered the 80s.
Don't worry,
for
guys.
you.
I gotcha. One more paragraph, it'll all be clear. And it's probably a good time for us to take another break. And after that, we're going to come back and talk about Rush. So stay tuned.
'Cause I got Pac-Man fever. Pac-Man fever. It's driving me crazy. Driving me crazy. I got Pac-Man fever. Pac-Man fever. I'm going out of my mind. Going out of my mind. I got Pac-Man fever. Pac-Man fever. I'm going out of my mind. Going out of my mind.
Okay, welcome back to I Don't Even Own a Television. This is a podcast about bad books and 1980s references. We're talking about Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And with me today, again, is Mike Sacco.
I am still here.
Still here. He hasn't run out yet and decided to start playing Atari.
The force is very strong there, though.
It is.
Oh man, I just made a Star Wars reference, and I didn't even want to.
Guess what? You won the game. Here's $1 billion.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite part of this because as regular listeners to the podcast know, I love talking about Rush. And one of the, I guess you'd call them, okay, let's be real here. One of the levels in this book, because that's what this is written like, right?
Yes.
Like pretty much they're going from level to level.
Mm-hmm.
One of the levels in this book involves recreating the Rush album 2112.
Now wait. This is 2112, the dystopian future concept album.
Yes.
Where music is outlawed.
Yes, it's the one concept album about a dystopian future where music is outlawed. Nobody else has ever done this thing. Except for like every rock band who's ever gotten the idea to do a concept album, and also Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
And the video game Revolution X featuring Aerosmith.
That's true. The one with the CD gun. Only you can save Aerosmith from the New World Order. I liked it too. I remember, actually, I played that game a bunch. And I pumped a bunch of quarters into it once to win. But I guess to get the real ending, you actually have to rescue all of the members of Aerosmith. So it just brings up this little title screen at the end. I don't remember the exact wording, but it says something like, you were successful, but you don't get to party with the greatest rock band, Aerosmith. Try again. Okay, but we're way off track here. So, 2112, Rush. So basically, the plot of 2112 is that music is outlawed. A dude goes down into a cave, finds a guitar, brings it back to, the rulers of the land, and he's like, look, I found this ancient miracle, is how it's referred to, which is music. And he plays the music, and they freak out. They're like, oh, man, this is bad. This is going to give people all sorts of bad thoughts. So then he has to go and, start a musical rebellion. But the part that happens in this book mostly is just that he finds a guitar in the cave. But here's my favorite part of it right here was when he first describes it. And anybody who's familiar with Rush right away is halfway through this going to be like, oh my God. And if you're not, I'll explain in a second, but here we go. The city of Megadon reminded me of an old 1950s sci-fi paperback cover painting depicting the crumbling ruins of a once great technologically advanced civilization. In the absolute center of the city, I saw a towering obelisk-shaped temple with wind-blasted gray walls. A giant star, a red star of the Solar Federation, was emblazoned above the entrance. I was standing before the Temple of Syrinx. We are the priests of the temples of Syrinx. All right, I'm sorry about your ears, but yeah, they talk about in the song, our great computers line the hallowed halls. Well, guess what? When he walks in the Temple of Syrinx, inside mammoth obelisk-shaped supercomputers stood in long rows, filling the giant cathedral-like temple. Like, this shit is garbage. Yep. It's Rush fan fiction. Okay, so I think I've got my Rush quota out of the way. Rush was mentioned in here, so I had to talk about Rush because they're a band I've loved, and I've since come to realize how wrong I was. But yeah, anyway, at another point he has to read liner notes from the same album, etc., because Rush is a multi-part album. When he finally finds the guitar is one of my favorite passages here, which was, as I held the guitar over my head, the metallic ringing segued into a power chord that echoed throughout the cave. Which reminds me so much of those 80s music videos where like a dad would bust into a kid's room and be like, why aren't you doing your homework? And then like a power chord comes through and he's like, 'cause fucking rock and roll, Dad.
I just like imagine throughout this whole thing Dio walking into frame like the video for Holy Diver and just doing that Dio nod when the drums kick in, Oh, Lord have mercy.
I'm really surprised that no members of Rush were name dropped in here, especially considering Neil Peart's
Neil Peart, the greatest drummer ever.
Yes, and also an outspoken advocate of objectivism and what do they call it? Transhumanism.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
also talking trees.
Yeah, also talking trees. That are kept equal by hatchet, axe, and saw. Because man rules all. But that's a whole different story. That's for the next episode where I fucking find some book that's entirely about Rush. So I can get away with this for 45 minutes.
No problem. Atlas shrugged.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, basically we've just been ranting and raving about this book for a long time now. It's really hard not to do if you've read it. And once again, I'd recommend reading this if you are the type of person who likes to kind of scoff at bad things, but you're willing to put a little bit of work into it. It's just as funny as a lot of those really so bad they're good movies. It's just that it's a book, so it takes a little more effort to get through. But something about the fact that it's a book makes it even more scoffable to me. I don't know why that is, because a film takes a lot more money and time to produce, but I think I just expect more from something that's actually published in book form. Yeah. I mean, this was not a self-published book, I should add. I made a rule early on in this that I was not going to review self-published books because it's not fair. Like there's
fish in a barrel type thing.
Yeah, fish in a barrel. There's so many of them out there. I could do an episode about some shitty fucking Kindle single every day. But no, I believe maybe not Random House, but yeah, some major publisher put this out, which just totally destroys my faith in humanity.
I presented you with the quote, or with the conversation between Parzival and Artemis about their relationship, right? About
No,
their
we actually
relationship.
No, we talked about this. A little inside baseball here. We recorded this episode before, and a bunch of technological bullshit got fucked up because we're computer wizards. And so this is kind of a second take. But yes, you mentioned this the first time we talked about it. You haven't mentioned it yet this time, and I think you really should because it's fucking incredible. So yes, please proceed.
I can do a dramatic reading if you'd like.
Yeah, sounds like a great time to maybe segue on into dramatic reading.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound important. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
Okay, so in dramatic readings, we read passages from the book in the style of NPR selected shorts, which is really interesting people reading really boring things. In this case, it's fairly interesting people reading really stupid things. So, Mike, if you'd like to begin here, since you've already alluded to it, it seems like you've got a passage already picked out. So,
I do.
Hit me.
It is my favorite passage probably from the book, out of a book with not many favorite passages from me. You're just saying that, she said. There was an unsteadiness in her voice. Trust me, if I ever let you see me in person, you would be repulsed. Why do you always say that? Because I'm hideously deformed, or I'm a paraplegic, or I'm actually 63 years old. Take your pick. I don't care if you're all three of those things. Tell me where to meet you, and I'll prove it. I will get on a plane right now and fly to wherever you are. You know I will. She shook her head. You don't live in the real world, Z. From what you've told me, I don't think you ever have. You're like me. You live inside this illusion. She motioned to our virtual surroundings. You can't possibly know what real love is. Don't say that. I was starting to cry and didn't bother hiding it from her. Is it because I told you I've never had a real girlfriend and that I'm a virgin because
Oh, God.
Oh man. Now I need to give Ernest Cline like half a point of credit here. Like one fraction of a credit, because at the end of the book, Wade and Artemis finally meet in person, and Wade professes his love to her, and she does not say the same back. And that's good, because she spent the whole book being this like trophy that Wade wants to win. But then she kisses him. Mm-hmm. So
it's a tiding of things to come. Unfortunately, Wade has been friend-zoned. P.S. I'm using that word really ironically. I don't know how many regular listeners are familiar with my stance on these things, but you probably guessed by now. I think that's a really stupid word and a ridiculous concept. So.
Jay, I love to be in the friend zone with you. In fact,
thanks, bud.
I consider this podcasting studio to be our friend zone.
That's true. When you enter this room, you're in the friend zone.
That's right.
Which also like maybe sounds like a questionable like activity center for kids that's in a slightly rundown building that you don't really want to bring them to. Come on in the friend zone.
FZ at the friend zone.
Yeah. Don't worry about the creepy clown outside. All right. Wow. Okay, so for my dramatic reading here, I picked out a highlight that I think encapsulates the book in many ways.
Oh man!
And I'm gonna try to get through it without stuttering too much, because I'm kind of bad at that. But part of that is going to require me to take a sip of this fine beverage. It's a Lux beer by Ninkasai from Oregon. An excellent German-style lager, super tasty. Please send me free beer or money. Thank you. Okay.
Sip, 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 sip.
Oh, man, I just sipped like a frat boy. Wait, here it comes. Yep, that was a very quiet burp.
Well done.
That's the kind of burp that comes after a sip. So
You have a
All right.
burp for radio.
here we go. Standing on the left side of the runway was my battle-worn X-Wing fighter. Parked on the right side was my DeLorean. Sitting on the runway itself was my most frequently used spacecraft, the Vonnegut. Max had already powered up the engines, and they emitted a low, steady roar that filled the hangar. The Vonnegut was a heavily modified Firefly-class transport vessel, modeled after the Serenity in the classic Firefly TV series. The ship had been named the Cayley when I'd first obtained it, but I'd immediately rechristened it after one of my favorite 20th century novelists. So that's what you get, folks. That's what you get when you sign up for Ready Player One. Expect page after page after page of that kind of shit.
It blows my mind because he just can't say, oh, it was originally a Firefly class transport, because if you know what Firefly class transport means, then you get the joke, right?
Yeah.
Like that well, not a joke, a reference, because we do not want to confuse these things.
You get the nod, and yes. I remember this.
But
I'm a fan of Summer Glau. She's an attractive young lady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here he says it was a Firefly class transport, by the way, from the TV show Firefly.
And I want to point out, too, we mentioned earlier that this book got exceedingly good reviews, and I think a lot of the reason, actually, is shit like that, which, if this was in a book that was about anything but video games, people would routinely just trash.
Yep.
But because this is something that a lot of maybe critics aren't familiar with, they would read that and be like, oh, yeah, that's from that TV show. Yeah, that's kind of clever. I get it, or whatever.
Yeah, several clever world building details here.
Yes,
Excellent.
exactly.
I'm from the New York Times review of books.
I'm bald and wear glasses. Which is...
I'm Ira Glass.
I was just about to say, I was so disappointed when I first saw Ira Glass and realized he was handsome. Because he's got such a great voice, and I just always assumed he'd be this, like, bald little nebbish. Yeah. And then I saw him, and I was like, fuck, man. You don't get both of those. Now I forgot what I was talking about. I'm just thinking about how dreamy Ira Glass is.
I always wondered what the guy who remember how like mid 90s, late 2000s NPR, when they first started having their like website in the like bumpers, you know, the guy the guy who would always go www.npr.org.
Do you trust the way I pronounce W? W. Some people do really overpronounce W. Now I can't stop doing it. Holy fuck, what are we even talking about anymore? But anyway, yeah, so my point is like, you know, that shit like it slipped by people, I think, because, you know, they were older, they didn't really catch the reference. The explanation of the reference made sense. But, like, take this out of the context of that, right? And, like, put it into any other piece of pop culture. And what you'd have is something like an unstylized version of American Psycho, right? Like, you'd have something like, you know, Joe went to the lot and bought a Camaro. The Camaro was a powerful sports car made by Chevrolet. That's exactly what we're talking about here, right? You know, like, how is this good writing? This isn't good writing. Don't give shit like this good reviews anymore, or I'm coming to your house.
Tell, don't show.
Yes. Oh, man, okay. This episode has gotten way too long. And I feel like probably the meanest one yet, but I also get the feeling it will be one of the most popular because this book is god-awful, and people seem to love laughing at it. It really does. It's polarizing. People love this book, or they think it's hilariously bad. And I'm definitely on the latter, so just to finish up, we've talked about this already. I think I've made my opinion clear, but just to solidify at the end of the podcast here, would you recommend this book to a friend ironically, earnestly, or both?
I don't think that I could, in good conscience, even refer this book to a friend ironically.
Wow.
Yeah, like I could say, here, why don't I send you a couple of pages of the worst quotes from this book?
Oh, yeah, I see.
But I would not say to this person, please read this book because I think it's funny. Because the only thing worse than making a friend read a bad book is having a friend read a bad book and then having them like it.
Oh shit!
Yes. Can you imagine this?
This has happened to me before, actually. Yep. I can't remember which book it was, but this has happened to me before. And then they get kind of mad at you too, and like,
why do you have to be so mean about all this nerd stuff, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. Like, motherfucker, dude. I have like Pokemon toys on my monitor and shit. Like, I don't know. I just don't fall for this crap, man. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing about this book. And I want to say this one more time before I sign off here. Is that, like, don't fall for this shit, man. Like, don't be pandered to like this. Just because you like something doesn't mean that, like, it's great across all genres. And, like, if you like an Atari 2600 video game, that's rad. But that doesn't mean that in the minute a book references it, it's a good book. And like, just... I don't know, use a filter. Come on. Like, come on. Like, 20 pages into this is enough to just put it down. You're done, you know? Yeah. But, okay, so to answer my own question, I would definitely not recommend this earnestly to anyone because that happened to me earnestly. I would definitely not do that because it happened to me and it made me angry. Like, I was like I
bought this book, man.
I was a little bit offended. Like, somebody got this for me for Christmas. I'm not going to mention anyone by name. I was a little offended. But I probably would recommend it, ironically, and maybe it's just because I have, at this point, after 10 episodes of this podcast, I've got a pretty high tolerance for bad shit. Yeah. But, I mean, it's fucking hilariously bad. And at least every chapter, I got 3 or 4... unintentional belly laughs. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just my token. I read a lot of just genre fiction and just dumb shit that's not necessarily bad enough to talk about on here. So, like, on that level, there kind of are some interesting little bits and some thrills and stuff. But for the most part, you read this to laugh at it. And I would recommend that, but only if you're really into that kind of mean-spirited mockery.
What I would personally do with this book is to shoot it with a photon torpedo from the TV series and film series Star Trek by Gene Roddenberry.
Who was a sci-fi legend of the early 1950s,
yes.
a decade occurring during the 20th century in American history.
Yes, America being, of course, part of the North American continent. It's itself one of the 7 continents of the planet Earth.
That's true, which make up one of the now 8 planets of the solar system. We could probably keep going with this forever, because how many angels can you fit on a match head? But Pinhead? I don't know. They're both.
How do you reference an angel?
Wow, dude, did you just straight up make a reference to The Heights? 1990s Fox television program, The Heights, with their hit song, How Do You Talk to an Angel? I'm not going to edit this out because that's amazing. I haven't even thought about that in years. All right, but anyway, as I was trying to do a couple minutes ago before I got sidetracked again, I just wanted to go ahead and close out the show here before we get going. I wanted to remind you all to follow us on Twitter. It's twitter.com/IDEOTVpod or facebook.com/IDEOTVpod. We've actually getting quite a few followers on there, but nobody's really talking. So talk, suggest books, be funny. I don't care. Tell us we suck. I just want more shit happening there. But yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed this. You can always just visit or email me directly at I don't even own a podcast at I don't even own a television at gmail.com. Thank you so much for sticking around for our 10th episode, and thank you for being here with us. Mike, is there anything you'd like to plug before we leave?
Nothing major, but I would like everybody to check me out on twitter.com/Mike Sacco, SACCO. And thank you for having me, Jay.
Oh, no, you're very welcome. It's been a great time. Everybody out there, remember, stay true to your roots, and would you like to play a game?
Breaking and popping, spinning and turning, dancing and jiving. Lionel Richie was driving with his magical song. All night long they came and rocked the Coliseum. Around the world they a game to see 'em. And just when you thought you'd seen it all, out come an alien and